how do parents normally react to a question like this? Who made God? A child asks. There are 5, please pay attention to this, 5 incorrect methods of dealing with this question. And other similar questions, whether related to faith or other inquisitive areas of our children. Yes? 5 ways in which as parents we are not supposed to reply or deal with a scenario like this. The first is dismissal. Dismissal means what? Means that we ignore the question, or we say, this is not for you. You are not supposed to be necessarily asking this question. Yes. Why? Because we recognize that this question may be above what they are thinking, and therefore we dismiss the need to ask this question. As a result, the children will turn to other sources, no doubt. The second way in which unfortunately some parents deal with a question like this is that they ridicule, they joke about this, they mock in front of the child. Others will be watching, or even the child by himself or herself, they mock this particular question. Say, are you really serious? Why are you asking this question for? Yes, this doesn't make any sense. What do you mean, who made God? This doesn't make any sense. And then they laugh about it. What does this do to the child? Destroy their self-esteem, their self-worth. The child will now begin to formulate this idea that, I'm not somebody who is worth asking this question because my father or mother immediately joked about it. Yes, they ridiculed it, they mocked it. And therefore, I should not ask any of these questions anymore. Because I tell you, Allah, today, there is a silence movement going on in universities and other places. This atheism that is breeding amongst some of our community members around the world, from the followers of the school of Ahl al-Bayt. Yes? These questions are not being answered when they're young. And do you know why they're not being answered? Because you speak to your parents and say, what happened to M&Ms? You say to them, what? They say M&Ms. We are leaving everything in the hands of M&M. Not the very nice chocolate that we eat. Member and madrasa. They are the source of information. They should be answering these questions. I tell you, when that boy 16 or that 18-year-old girl goes to university, and those atheists and agnostics are posing these questions. Why evil exists? Why is God not stopping this? Where is God? Who made God? They begin to doubt. They begin to have weakness in their iman. Yes. So the second area is the ridiculing these questions. The third is deterrence. Deterrence means what? You say, astaghfirullah. This is shaitan playing in your mind. Have you heard this? When somebody asks a question you don't like, you immediately switch and somehow begin to make them doubt their faith or their question, to somehow blame the enemy, the arch enemy, that being the shaitan. The number 4 area is what? Is when you start accusing them or judging them of having weak iman or faith. A child comes forward and asks this question, you begin to say, that means you're becoming a less of a Muslim. This question indicates that you are not a very strong believer, because you should not be asking these questions, the parent would say. I tell you, there is a professor called Professor Jeffrey Lang. He embraced Islam in the 1980s. He had many questions, yes. He went to a particular country in the Middle East that teaches and espouses extremist Islam. Yes, he went to that particular country. He had questions. They told him, don't ask, because if you ask, that means you are a weak Muslim. You do not have faith. You do not have iman. You do not have conviction in Allah. He came back to the United States. He wrote a book. Even angels ask. He wrote on it, if the angels asked Allah, why is it that you're creating this creation that is causing bloodshed? Why are you not answering my questions? Allah allowed the angels to ask. That's why one of our scholars says that, when I was also studying, he says, I was studying in the Hawza, I went to one of my teachers and I had these doubts. I had these questions. The teacher said to me, Shaitan has taken you over. Go home and read Quran. Take the jinn and the shaitan out of you. He said, I was wondering, why are my questions not being answered? We must not be of those who immediately judge an individual who has a question. But just because they have a question, we start labeling them. Start thinking that they have left the faith. They have left the school of Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam. And the fifth way in which unfortunately some parents deal with tough, difficult questions from their children is what? Is when they give them wrong answers. Or they make up an answer, or they Google an answer very quickly and just give it to them. There was an individual by the name of Mustafa Mahmoud. He is an Egyptian scholar. Yes, he wrote a book, رحلة من الإيمان إلى الإلحاد. My journey from faith to atheism. He became an atheist after being a Muslim. He said, do you know why I became an atheist? He said, in my village there was a scholar that people respected. Once I came to him, I said to him, Ya Sheikh, I have a problem in my house. So what is your problem? He said, I have many insects. I want you to give me a ta'weez or a dua or something that helps to defeat these insects. He said, very well, recite the following and do the next few things and the insects will go away. He said, I took what he said. That night I recited, I woke up in the morning, my house had even more insects. He said, I went back to him and said, if you can't remove and take away insects from me, how can you remove shaitan and sins from me? So I left Islam. Unfortunately, sometimes we give answers that may weaken the faith of some individuals, including our children. We don't think and ponder. I remember one individual said to me that a non-Muslim friend asked me about Ashura, asked me about Sayyid al-Shuhada, about Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He said to me, what is the big deal about Karbala and the 10th of Muharram? What was wrong with this individual ruling at that time? He said, you know, a member of our community went and said to him, the problem with Yazid was that he used to drink alcohol a lot and he was a womanizer. He said, that non-Muslim said, that's not really a major issue because I do that too. Sometimes the answer that we give to a question may take an individual way further, isn't it? Make it even worse. Therefore, our sixth holy Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, tells us, converse with your children and answer their question in a hadith, lest if you don't do so, they will have a communication with those who have transgressed and disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.